day. It's a special session for me and for all of us gathered here to honor Thich Nhat Hanh, whom most of us know, I'm sure. And if any of you aren't familiar with him, I will certainly share in the session today. And I feel I've been feeling so emotional just preparing for this session because I've just spent since Ty died, there have been 7 or 8 days of ceremonies going on, which I'm sure many of you have watched some of them. Different services, memorial services, and Dharma talks happening in his different monasteries in Plum Village, as well as in Vietnam, and also in Deer Park and his various centers of Thais. And I just gave myself this entire week to just immerse in it completely, and I just feel very overwhelmed by the beauty that I witnessed, and it's just been such a touching experience for me. And see, I have to try to contain myself before I start, but I feel very tender in my heart. Thai is such a beloved teacher to me and to so many. I know I saw that on Insight Timer, the Thich Nhat Hanh Circle has like 136,000 people in it, which just says everything right there. You know, this amazing, beloved being has touched the lives of so many people all over the world. And for me personally, I discovered him, or he discovered me when I was 16. And many of the seeds of my spiritual life he planted many of those seeds in me at a very young age. And I have just such a profound, deep gratitude to him that is beyond any words. So I'm going to try my best to offer whatever I can in this session of my gratitude and all of our gratitude together. And it just feels like there's just this beautiful river that's been flowing all week in honor of him. And so this is just my drop of water going into that amazing river. So thank you so much for joining me. And I'll try to hold it together, but I might not, and that's fine. And if I fall apart, then I'll just come back together again. Isn't that Thai's teaching? There's, no birth, no death, coming together, falling apart. And it's been so moving to watch the monastics, Thai's monastics, as they've, mourned their passing of their teacher. So many of them, I've just seen how they just allow their true humanity and their true emotions to come through, and then to just let it go and touch the beauty of life again and the gratitude. And that's so much what I also have learned from Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh is often referred to as Thai, which means teacher in Vietnamese. So I'll probably just refer to him as Thai in this session. So just so you know, if anybody happens to come in this session and says, who is this she talking about, you can just let them know if they don't know. It's Thai, Thay. So I want to start by singing. I'm not going to sing my usual invocation. If you've never been to one of my sessions before, I sing devotional music and mantras, and I usually start with a very specific invocation that I do. But today I really want to offer an invocation in honor of this path and of Thai, and how this path is rooted in me, it flows through me. And so I wanted to sing a chant to the 3 jewels, which in the Buddhist tradition are the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So the Buddha is the teacher, the one who shows us the way. Depending on your own faith tradition, it may not be called the Buddha. It may be called someone else. It might be called Jesus, or it might be called Muhammad, or it might be called Mother Nature, whatever it may be for you. And the Dharma is the body of teachings, the way, the path. And the Sangha is the beloved community of people who are gathered and practicing in this way, cultivating the virtues and supporting one another to realize the truth of who we are, what we're doing here on this earth. And so I'm going to start by singing that. And I think I might also sing, there's a beautiful chant that's sung in Plum Village quite a lot. And Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sama Sambuddhasa. It's essentially honoring the exalted one, the Buddha, and offering praise and gratitude to him. So I just want to sing that to begin, just to invoke the presence here. And then my vision for this session is to just share with you about Thai and his amazing life, and share some of the teachings that have really touched me in particular, and some of the experiences that I've had, and how they've shaped me. As I've been rereading, so many of the practices, and many of the Plum Village practices. I went to Plum Village when I was 21, and before that, I was very deeply involved in one of Thai's sanghas when I was in college, and I went every other week. I was really deeply immersed in it, and so all of the songs are such a part of me, and the chants and the practices. And so this week, I've just really been watering those seeds. It's a phrase that Thai often uses, that to water the wholesome seeds within us. We have all these different seeds within us. And when we engage together in community and sangha, we water those wholesome seeds, those positive seeds that awaken us, that help us develop love and forgiveness and understanding and all of the things that he embodied. So I'm going to start with this invocation. And one of the reasons is I always feel like it's really important to start any gathering with a spiritual intention, just with an acknowledgement of the gratitude for being able to do this, to come together, the privilege that it is, and to ask for the blessings, for all of us here together, and to dedicate this session in honor of Thai. So this is an opportunity for you to just gather all of your energy here, to be in the present moment, right? This is exactly what Thai's teaching is. And it's harder than we think to really become in the present moment, to have our mind and body in the same place. Usually our mind is somewhere else and our body is here. And so he has given us an amazing, huge body library of teachings that help us to learn how to become more united, body and mind, here in the present moment, so that we can touch the beauty of life, so that we can feel a sense of reverence for this life. And so this is a chance, as I sing this invocation, for you to just arrive here. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. That's one of Thai's gatas. Gata is like a sacred verse or a phrase that is like an invitation to become more present in the moment. So this chant is a chance for us to arrive here. So just relax and be open, be receptive, and you can tune into your heart and whatever you feel gratitude for in your life, whatever guides you, whatever lights the path for you, you can call upon that and feel connected to that. So the first mantra is Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami, Sangham Sharanam Gacchami. Means I take refuge. Sharanam is to take refuge. So Buddham Sharanam Gacchami, I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the teachings. I take refuge in the community. That's this gathering of souls. And just allow your mind and body to be here as one. This is a gift that we can give to Thai, is to be here fully in the present moment, which is what he tried to teach us. Buddham Sharanam
Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Buddham Sharanam Gacchami. Dharmam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Sangam Sharanam Gacchami. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Samma sambuddhassa. Samma sambuddhassa. Samma sambuddhassa.
So let us arrive here in the present moment. We'll just take a moment to bring our body and mind together and to bring awareness to the here and now. A very simple invitation. Breathing in. I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out. I know I'm breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I take care of my body with the energy of mindfulness. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I take care of my body with the energy of mindfulness. Breathing in, I'm aware of my heart. Breathing out, I smile to my heart. Maybe I've neglected to pay attention to my heart. And in this moment, I see my heart and I smile to it. Breathing in, aware of my heart. Breathing out, I smile to my heart. Breathing in, I'm aware that Thai continues in every cell of my body. Breathing out, I feel gratitude for this moment. Breathing in, I'm aware of Thai, of awareness, of presence and mindfulness in every cell of my body. And breathing out, I feel deep gratitude. When we invite the bell, it's an opportunity to come back into presence. So one gata or phrase to help us with that says, listen, listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. Thank you. There are really very few words practical to us in the modern world. You know, now mindfulness is kind of like a buzzword. You know, everything is mindful. You can do everything mindfully. You see all these memes about it, and everybody's becoming, involved with mindfulness, and that's a wonderful thing. But we owe gratitude to Thich Nhat Hanh. We use to, become more to deepen this sense of a spiritual ego or give ourselves an identity. Mindfulness is the way to freedom. It's not the way to become more ensnared, in our ego, so to speak. So mindfulness is a tool to help us break free of the shackles of what keeps us running into the future or going back into the past, to be here in the present moment. And here in this moment is where so much healing is possible and so much love is possible and transformation. And he embodied that in such a profound way. I feel really blessed that I've had the opportunity to spend time with him on many different occasions. Um, and to be in the presence of a master, of a being who is truly, completely in the present moment. Every shred of his being, 100% here in the moment, is an experience that there are no words for. Most of the time when we are around people, there's always a dispersal of energy because most of us find it really hard to concentrate and to be really present for one another, never mind present for ourselves. So being in the presence of someone like that feels such a solidity of like a tree with deep roots, so much strength, yet so much gentleness at the same time. I remember many years ago when I was studying Tai Chi, it was just something I studied briefly, just for about a year. And but I read some books about it, and in one of the books about Tai Chi, I don't recall who the author was, but he was saying a practitioner should be like iron within cotton, very strong on the inside, but soft on the outside. And I've thought that was such a beautiful description, and I really feel like that applies to Tai in my experience of him. Something unshakable, something so present, like a mountain, like a tree, but so gentle, such a tender, loving, compassionate being. Those two things together are an amazing alchemy that obviously has the power to transform so many lives, which he has. So I'm sure that many of you are familiar with his life story. You can read like a more detailed biography on the Plum Village website. Plum Village is Thai's monastery in France. But just briefly, I want to share a little bit about it because there are so many pieces of it that are just so amazing. Um, he was born in 1926 and October 11th, and I remember reading that from the time he was pretty young, like 7 or 8 or 9 or something, he saw a photo of a picture of the Buddha, and when he saw the image of the Buddha, this deep peace and just this sort of serene countenance, he felt that longing to be that way, to have that peace in his life, and wanted to become a monk from a really young age. And then he didn't actually get his novice ordination as a monk until he was 16. But he did when he was 16. And I heard him say once in a talk that he was one of the first 6 monks to ever ride a bicycle in Vietnam. And he was saying that he always had to use gathas. So I was just explaining that a gatha is like a verse, Gatha. It's like a verse that helps us to remember, to be in the present moment. So you might have a gatha for washing dishes, or a gatha for waking up in the morning, or a gatha for putting on your clothes, or like I said, a gatha for the bell, listen, listen. This wonderful sound brings me back to my true home. So we know when we hear the sound of the bell that it's an invitation to come home, to take refuge in ourselves. But he was saying that there were no gathas for riding a bike because there were no monks who had rode bikes at that time. So he had to create his own. And that's something that I just love and appreciate so much about Thai, is that he offers these maps and these guides, but he always encouraged people to make the practice their own, to use the language that speaks to you, you know. If you do the touching of the earth practice, which I'll share about later, he asks people to write their own script, personal, with a gatha that touches your own heart. He has so many of them that are beautiful in all of his books, but to not just go along with something, it's the script, how deeply, rooted in one's heart. he always talked so much about the importance of our spiritual lineage and our ancestral lineage, the need and importance of connecting to both of those things. So anyway, so from the time he was 16, he was a monk, and then at that time, of course, there were so many very difficult things happening in Vietnam, and he got, some monks were choosing to just be monks, and others were choosing to be more active socially, engaging to help with the situation there, and he, chose basically to do both. And or eventually he coined what we now refer to as engaged Buddhism, which is incredibly inspiring to me. When I was in college, I went to a university where you had the option to create like an independent concentration if you wanted to. It wasn't something that a lot of people did, but I wanted to do it, and so I created a concentration based on Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings on engaged Buddhism and on the philosophy or the art of mindful living, which I didn't end up getting my degree in that, but it was so meaningful to me. I spent a really long time, trying to synthesize all that I learned at that time in my life when I was like 20 or something into concentration, this major at school. And the whole idea of engaged Buddhism is just, honestly, it was the only thing that really made sense to me at that time. And it's the only thing that really makes sense to me now, which is just the whole notion that our spirituality, whatever we may practice, is not something to just do in a hole away from the world, but it's actually meant to be in daily life in every way, the world, path. That was what he was putting into action. And so there was so much of a stress on, ethics and virtues and being mindful not only about our sitting practice, but mindful about our interactions with one another, mindful of our consumption, mindful of all of these things, how that contributes to what's happening in the world. And so he was amazingly inspiring about that, and reading, he has over 100 books. And so reading the books and just knowing about the atrocities that he witnessed and how he just put himself in those situations to be of benefit to people, to help people, and to really try to maintain, to not grab hold of any view, in one side or another, but to remain a neutral, witness, offering love and trying to be understanding on all sides of any situation. So he got really involved, and he was the editor of like a peace activist magazine, and he founded a university in Saigon, and he just did so many inspiring, amazing things. I think he was one of the first monks who was studied a secular subject in Saigon, and then in 1961, when he was, I don't know how old he was at that point, but he got a Fulbright to come to the U.S. And he studied at Princeton first, and then he went to Columbia University in New York City, and he was doing research there. I think he might have been a teaching assistant, but he was doing research, and he was there for, I guess, for about a year. And there is such a beautiful book called Fragrant Palm Leaves. That is his most intimate book. It's his journals from the period of about 1962 to 1966 or something like that, which tells of his sort of blossoming into this path of engaged Buddhism, and when he came to the States, what he learned. And I just was reading something the other day that he wrote about his time there that was so, it just blew my mind, that I want to read it to you, because it's, we can think about Thai as this amazing teacher and all that he's offered the world. And he himself also was on a journey, just like the Buddha. When you hear about the Buddha's life story, at least when I hear about the Buddha's life story as a man, as a person, I find it so incredibly inspiring, just what the realizations that he came to, the challenges that he had, and how he, worked through those challenges to awaken. And so Thai, of course, had his own journey with that. And he said I don't remember if it was in that book or somewhere else, that he became a monk in Vietnam, and he studied Buddhism there, but he realized the path in the West, which I think is really interesting. And so I want to read this to you. It's a bit long, so I'm going to read it as a kind of meditation, but I think it's really, really worth listening to this story about basically the undoing of self, like the journey that he went on, these moments of realization that happened for him when he woke up and recognized that he wasn't a separate self. You know, he went through that journey and he documented it for any of us to see, and it's incredible. He tells a story about when he was at Columbia, and one day he was in the library, and he saw this book that only two other people had ever taken out of the library before. And when he saw that book, he just had this like awakening experience. And I think it was like a series of different experiences that happened, and this was just one of them. But it is such a beautiful story. So I'm going to read this to you. And you can read the whole thing in Fragrant Palm Leaves, which is the book that I mentioned. This is from the chapter 23, December 1962. Just so you know, I'll put this information in my circle so you can find it later. But this is such an intimate story, and it was just happened 10 days before his 36th birthday. And I'm going to read it. So just allow yourself to receive the story like a meditation. And really, when I hear this, when I read this, I see it and feel it so vividly. In fact, I just read it again. Tears. I can't say why, but there's just something so profound about reading the awakening experiences that this amazing soul had, not knowing at that time the impact that he would have on the world, you know? So here it goes. It's funny how much our surroundings influence our emotions. Our joys and sorrows, likes and dislikes are colored by our environment so much that often we just let our surroundings dictate our course. We go